Which camera should you buy? It's not that easy of a choice because there are so many cameras and their differences are kind of technical, and sometimes the better camera is much more expensive. I'm gonna help you find the right camera for you, get the most bang for your buck, and get you to actually love photography and produce beautiful images, because that's what I'm into. I'm a professional photographer and a photography teacher, and I don't just want to sell you something. I've never taken money or free gear from camera or lens manufacturers. I just want to get you into the art of photography. I'm gonna give you different answers based on general photography, video, landscapes, portraits, sports. If you're deeply into a specific genre, scrub through the little table of contents in this video so you can jump right to the part and get your answer as fast as possible. The links to all this stuff is in the description. First, I want to tell you, if you're a non-technical person and you're coming here because you want to take better pictures, your best bet might be to just get a better quality smartphone. This smartphone, the iPhone 15 Pro Max, as well as the Samsung S23 Ultra, the Google Pixel 8 Pro, this will produce better images, better video than a typical entry-level camera with the kit lens. Now, that entry-level camera with the kit lens has a lot of potential once you start to add other lenses and you learn tricks and stuff. But if you're not feeling highly technical and you just want better pictures, I'll recommend some better smartphones in just a second. Using a camera like this also comes with a lot of overhead. Some of these cameras have manuals that are about 1,000 pages long. The menus in the user interface is primitive and unintuitive. All the modern cameras have apps that you can use your phone with, but most of them work terribly. They're frustratingly slow, and as a result, most of the time when you want to share your pictures, you end up taking a memory card out of the camera and putting it in a memory card reader that goes into your phone or your computer. It's just like sort of working with a floppy disk. That's the reality of working with a camera like these. You can produce better images, but it takes some time. It requires some patience. If that doesn't sound like you, again, I just want you to get great images, and you might be better off using a smartphone. If you want a hobby, if you have some patience, if you're willing to learn to create art or to capture the best possible images of things, buying a real camera is for you. If you want good sports or wildlife pictures, your smartphone cannot do that today. If you want great portraits, smartphones don't really work with flashes, and lighting is the biggest part of taking great portraits, so that's another good reason to buy a traditional form factor camera. For some of you who are looking for a camera that connects with you, something that you feel passionate about, you look at it and you want to pick it up. I have a camera like that. For me, it's a Leica M10D. Chelsea, my wife, she uses a Fujifilm X100V or a Leica Q2. These aren't the cameras that produce the best technical images, but these are the cameras that we tend to bring with us because they're objects of passion. Really, cameras can be cool. They should be fun. They are artistic. If what I'm saying connects to you, I would recommend checking out one of the cameras on this list. These aren't the most technically capable cameras, but they are the most fun to use. And that means you're more likely to pick it up over and over again, as opposed to somebody who bought just a regular DSLR looking camera like this that is very capable, but ends up sitting on the shelf. A camera like this that just looks and feels beautiful can actually get more use. I recommend checking out first Fujifilm cameras. They make the most fun cameras. The X100F, the X100V, if you want a lightweight and all-in-one camera. It just has a prime lens, but it has an optical viewfinder, so cool. If you want something a little more capable that looks kind of like this, the XT series, the XT3, 4, or 5 from Fujifilm are all excellent cameras with very slight differences. The XT5 is the new version. The XT3 and 4 are older versions. You can save some money by shopping used. We recommend using KEH when you're shopping used. You can use this link to head there, and then the Northrup 1 coupon will save you 5% off. And if you're buying new, I suggest you shop at Adorama. Start at this link that lets them know that you heard about through us because we have an affiliate relationship with them, and that helps unsponsored videos like this keep coming. Now let's talk about general purpose cameras for just about anybody. These are cameras that do stills and video really well. If your budget is below $700, head to this link and that'll take you to KEH's page for used Canon DSLRs. I think the used Canon DSLRs, especially the APS-C DSLRs, provide the best bang for your buck because they have pretty good autofocus systems from the era. If you use the rear screen, they operate a lot like a modern mirrorless camera, or if you use the viewfinder, it's an optical viewfinder, which feels a little bit old-fashioned. It gives you perfect image quality because you're just looking directly through the lens. I would attach to one of those DSLRs what we call an all-in-one lens. This is something like Canon's 18 to 135 lens, and this link here will take you to a variety of them. And again, if you're shopping at KEH, the coupon code Northrup1 will save you 5%. If you want a new camera and your budget is about $500, there's really only one modern camera that fits that bill, and that's the Canon R100. The good news is it's pretty capable. The only real huge downside to it is it doesn't have a flip forward screen. So if you want to take selfies or if you want to be in front of the camera for vlogging or something, then I would suggest upgrading to the Canon R50, which is $200 more, but adds that flip forward screen and it's a little bit more capable. If you can spend $900 for a used camera or $1,200 for a new camera, I still recommend, after many years, the Canon RP. We have 3 in this video studio here that we've been using since they were new for like 4 years now, because there's such a good value. This is a full frame camera, so this gets you into the more serious lens system where there's more options, but also really less expensive options. And that's going to be the biggest benefit to upgrading to this RP over those APS-C cameras with the smaller sensors that I've been listing before. The last 3 cameras have all been for the Canon RF system. You need to make sure that you match the lenses to the camera by their lens mount, and this lens mount is RF. I would suggest for a first lens, the 24 to 105 f4 to f7.1, if you can find a good deal on it used. It's a common kit lens, so you can often find good used prices for it. The links to this are at the bottom of that slide that you see there. If you have a few more bucks to spend, I really recommend the Canon R8 and pairing it with Canon's 24 to 105 f4. Now, the 24 to 105 f4 is a different lens from the 24 to 105 f4 to 7.1. It is f4, which is a big aperture throughout the entire range. So you zoom in, you get better image quality. It's more expensive than the other lens, but you do get better pictures too. Compared to the previous camera, the Canon RP, this Canon R8 has faster autofocus and significantly better video quality, doing 4K at 60 frames per second. It's a pretty amazing camera for the price. I know $2,600 for a camera and lens seems like a huge amount of money, but I do believe it is a good investment. And if you do get tired of it, you can always sell it to a place like KEH and get a good portion of your money back. It seems like most people want to spend under $500 on their first camera, but if you spend more, photography is actually much easier because the newer cameras are just simply easier to learn, so you'll have a better time with it. If you have some more money to spend, I recommend checking out the Sony a7 IV. This is a really good general purpose camera for stills, video. It can shoot sports, it can shoot wildlife, it can kind of do anything. I would pair that with the 24 to 105 f4 lens for Sony. You can always upgrade your lens later. After you buy a camera, head to this link to learn how to use that camera. I make it so you don't have to read that 1,000-page manual. You can just watch me for about an hour, hold your camera in your hands and work through everything, and I'll get you started really quickly. We also have books and videos for sale at northrup.photo. For those just starting photography, I would recommend reading and watching the videos in Stunning Digital Photography, and also picking up our Art and Science of Photography video training series that has an additional 10 hours of video that go a little bit deeper. On our website, you'll see we have some combos that can save you a few bucks. Now, which camera should you buy for social media or video? This first one is the DJI Pocket 3. This is our go-to camera when we're recording in the field for our 1.6 million YouTube channel, right? This is an amazing camera. You can connect the DJI Mic 2 to it wirelessly, so you don't have to worry about cables or any sort of mic receiver. The video quality, everything is excellent. Even if you end up using a really high-end video camera, I promise you'll want one of these for those times when you're out and about. But I also use it when I'm just vlogging sitting here. It's perfect for horizontal or vertical video. It makes every other camera in this entire lineup seem ancient. It's the only camera here that's really easy to use, intuitive to use, that you don't really have to read the manual for, that can really quickly transfer files to your phone. It is a marvel. So pick it up at sdp.io/pocket3. A more traditional camera that can actually change lenses, that can zoom, that can give you effects like shallow depth of field, like the way the background is blurred in this scene, is the Sony ZV-E10. That's an APS-C camera. That means you don't have quite the same number of options as a full frame camera, but Sony has a really good lineup of video-centric APS-C lenses. This is the go-to vlogging camera if you want effects that you can't necessarily achieve with the Pocket 3. And by that I mean shallow depth of field like I have here, talking head stuff. If you were out on the go, you would still use the Pocket 3 over that. If you want even shallower depth of field, I would recommend upgrading to the Sony ZV-E 1. This is a full frame camera, which means you have more lenses, you have more ability to blur the background, you have better low light performance. What if you're a landscape photographer or a travel photographer? Here you don't really need super fast autofocus, high frames per second, but you want sharp images, lots of megapixels, and a good lens selection. If your budget is less than $900, use one of the general purpose cameras I recommended or your smartphone. But if you can spend more than $900 and you want really great images, check out the used Nikon D800E. This is an older DSLR, but it has 36 megapixels, true megapixels, no anti-aliasing filter, and I would pair it with the Tamron 24-70 f2.8. This is my dream setup from just a few years ago, and I can't believe you can pick it up now for less than $900. If you can spend a few more dollars, I would put you into a more modern mirrorless system. Sony's full frame system is amazing, and the A7R cameras are designed for landscapes. A7R 2, 3, 4, or 5 are all suitable, so check out that entire series. The older they are, the less expensive they are. Right now, checking out current prices, the A7R 3 seems to be at the sweet spot. KEH has those for about $2,000, or if you bought them new, they'd be about $3,200. A step up from that is the newest A7R5. That's what I use for landscape photography, and I would pair it with Sony's 16-35 f2.8 GM or Sony's 24-70 f2.8 GM. Both get the Mark II versions since you have such a big budget, right? And now that you're getting into landscape photography, I would recommend reading Stunning Digital Photography, but also our Lightroom training so that you start to get into post-processing, because post-processing is going to do things like unlock greater dynamic range and cooler effects on your pictures. Now let's talk about what camera you should get for sports photography, whether it's professional photography or, more likely watching your kid run around in a soccer game, but trying to actually record those memories. I find when my kid was in soccer, it really engaged me to have a camera, and the whole team really loved seeing the pictures that I caught of them. If your budget is less than $1,280, use one of the general purpose cameras that I recommended, along with a super zoom lens that goes kind of telephoto. Like you want something that goes out to 135 or 150 millimeters at least. But if you're buying a new camera, I would recommend the Canon R10 mirrorless camera along with Canon's 18-150 kit. You can get those as a kit for about $1,280 new, and it's kind of a new camera, so you might not be able to find it used at KEH. If you have more to spend, this is like such a fantastic sports camera. The Canon R6 Mark II will do a solid 20 frames per second, and it's full frame, so you get nice shallow depth of field. I would recommend pairing that with the Canon RF 70-200 f4 lens. Nice and lightweight, still will produce good low light images. If you have an unlimited budget, you badass, I would recommend getting the Nikon Z8 along with Nikon 70-200 f2.8 lens. Together, those will run you about $6,100, but you will produce astounding images at up to 120 frames per second, and the autofocus just works spectacularly. Which camera should you buy for portraits? This is a little bit different. You want inexpensive lenses that will give you shallow depth of field, you want really good color, and you want the ability to sync with flashes and kill the ambient light. I would recommend starting with your phone. You can get really fantastic results with the modern phones that have good portrait modes. And I think the best is the iPhone 15 Pro. It has a better telephoto lens than the iPhone 15 Pro Max. But if you want a traditional camera to get real bokeh and not the fake AI generated bokeh that you get with this, start with a Nikon D5300 or something similar. And I would pair that with the Nikon 50mm f1.8 G lens. Make sure it has the G in there, and that'll get you nice shallow depth of field pictures that are true portraits. Lighting will make a huge difference for you, and this is something you can't do with the phone. You have to be able to attach the flash trigger to the camera, but you need to get that lighting off camera. You don't want the ugly on camera flash look. And the cheapest best kit that I could find is the Flashpoint 2-Light kit here for $370. It has everything you need to get started and really produce nice, proper, professional lighting effects. And you can always upgrade this to other Flashpoint lights later. We've used Flashpoint lights for like 8 years in our professional portrait studio. Step up from that is the Nikon D610 DSLR. This is a full frame camera that's going to give you, again, more background blur, but also smoother skin tones. One portrait lens, the most bang for your buck for that camera, is the Tamron 70-200 f2.8. And make sure you, for all of these, that you get a lens that matches the lens mount. So you want to make sure you get a Tamron lens for the Nikon, what they call the F mount. A step up from that is the full-frame Nikon D750, another DSLR, and the Tamron 7200 G2 lens is more expensive, even used, but produces better images with better autofocus. So that combo will cost you about $1,800. If you want to be a true professional photographer, weddings, events, that sort of thing, I would recommend the Sony a7 IV, along with Sony 7200 f2.8 GM Mark II lens. The Mark I version, absolutely fine, but the Mark II version has significantly better image quality. But if you want to save a few bucks, go for the older version. And if you have an unlimited budget, this is the portrait camera and lens that Chelsea and I shoot day to day. It has a 1/400th sync speed with the mechanical shutter. The autofocus is spot on, whether it's a pose portrait or a little kid running at you. If somebody wants their dog running down a beach, you are ready for it. This is the pro camera that can do absolutely anything, even though it'll cost you about $8,000 used or about $9,000 new. The Sony Alpha 1 with Sony 7200 f2.8 GM lens is the ultimate portrait setup. And if you want the ultimate portrait lights, it's actually not that expensive. There are more expensive lights out there, but these do everything we've ever wanted them to do. We use the Flashpoint AD600 Pro mono lights, along with big soft boxes, some light stands, and we have several of those in the studio. They are battery powered, so you can use them in the studio with no cords for anybody to trip over, or you can pack them up and take them to the park or bring them on location, and everything is wireless and pretty much seamless. So get yourself a few of those from that link there. For portraits, Stunning Digital Photography provides the foundation, but then we have the flash training that you see here, as well as a video guide for taking and selling professional portraits that has posing and shooting tips, but really focuses on being able to make money as a professional photographer in case you want to actually get into the business of it. So which camera should you buy for wildlife photography? I've been a wildlife photographer for 25 years now professionally. I'm super serious about it. I've photographed over 1,000 species of animals, 150 species of just songbirds. I'm kind of fanatical. If you want something as cheap as possible, well, first you might just get a good smartphone. The Samsung S22 and S23 Ultra have excellent telephoto lenses that won't produce professional results, but will allow you to identify animals. If you want a device separate from your smartphone, check out this little PowerShot zoom that Canon makes. It has like an 800mm equivalent lens in it. That it's not great, but for $250, it will allow you to get pictures of the backyard birds or deer in your yard and at least identify them, and you have something to share. If you actually want some better images, you'll have to spend a few more bucks, but for about $1,300 used, I would recommend picking up the Canon R10 with Canon's 600mm f11 prime lens. You'll find that lightweight, focuses pretty good, and is actually capable of producing professional results. Step up from that, I will walk you back to the Nikon DSLR era. The Nikon D500 was our go-to wildlife camera for a long time. It's a little loud, it's a little heavy, but it works really well, and I would pair that with Nikon's excellent 200 to 500mm lens, which you can find used for about $2,200, and again, truly professional results. If you have some more money and you want to be in a modern system, I would recommend the Sony a7 IV with 33 megapixels and Sony's 200 to 600 wildlife lens. That won our wildlife zoom lens comparison. It's truly excellent. And if you have unlimited money, and we're talking almost 20 grand here, pick up a Nikon Z8, an excellent camera with 20 frames per second RAW. For video, it does 8K at 60 frames per second RAW. The autofocus is really good. But the single thing that makes me recommend this over the Sony or Canon equivalents is the best wildlife lens in the world is the Nikon 600mm f4 TC. This has completely changed my wildlife photography because it just allows me to zoom in from 600mm to like 850mm by flicking my finger here. And usually with this professional wildlife gear, you have to like physically pull out a teleconverter to put it on to get that extra reach. And it's a real game changer for me. In the comments down below, tell me what you would recommend and what you wouldn't recommend, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. And don't forget to check out our training at northrup.photo. There's a sale going on now. I promise learning the art of photography will make a way bigger difference in your images than buying a new camera will. Also, subscribe to this channel for reviews, tutorials, news, and so much more. It is completely free. Thank you. Bye.